Happy Friday, everybody. It's Lefty79 here with another weekly installment of the NFL Stableford League Power Ranking Show. This time after week 8. Wow, we're already nearly at halfway through the season, and it's flown by. And as you can see on the screen here, we have a mascot that flies, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. And that's where we're going to start the show this week in the number 32 spot, staying right where they are. The Baron of the Basement, Art Vandelay, at number 32 this week at 2-6. They lost to Green Bay 26-23 at home. Tough loss there. That one could have gone either way. The Packers pulled it out in the first half with a Hail Mary to pull out that win. But that's the fifth loss in a row now for the Cardinals, and it's not looking good right now for the playoffs, as they are 14th in the NFC right now, and that's going to be tough. Out of 16 teams, that's not where you want to be. But they're in the hunt. They're still not completely out of it yet. It's still there's still an opportunity, as it's a 17 game season this year, and we're only 8 games into it. Well, most teams are 8 games into it. Some are only 7, as there's been some bye weeks already. But next, the Cardinals will go at San Francisco. Their division rivals, leading the division at 5-2. That's going to be a tough one, but if anybody can pull out a miraculous performance on the road, it would be the Baron of the Basement, Art Vandelay. I expect him to make that a very competitive game, and I'm thinking it'll be decided. It'll be a one-possession game. I'm sure it'll be within a few points. It could even go to overtime. I know the Cardinals are a tough out wherever they go, and Art will always give his team the best opportunity to win, if possible. But yeah, this week we're a little bit delayed. Before we get to number 31, I just want to let everybody know, yeah, I've been a little bit under the weather this week, so it might sound a little bit different. Might be a little congested, might have a cough here and there, but I'm going to power through because this is a power ranking show. So I'm going to power on through it, and I might go a little quicker than usual, but I'll try to get some good points in on everybody. I do have playoff standings for each team. I did go through the playoff picture this past week in case anybody hasn't seen the spreadsheet lately. The playoff picture is now ready to go, as even on Thursday Night Football they started showing the graphics. In the hunt, you gotta love it. That's part of the deal with playoff picture. And can teams stay in the hunt? That is the main goal. And if you're leading your division right now, you're looking pretty good. If you're the top seed in your conference, you're looking pretty good. So, but there's still half a season left to play. We're not even at pin 3 yet, folks. We're still at pin 2 yet, I believe, for this last week in week 9. But then we'll transition over to pin 3. And then things get really interesting, because we know, as a lot of these course designers, as the harder the course gets, the further into the weekend you get with these pins, the harder the stadiums will get. So we'll see how the rest of this season will play out. But as we now move on to number 31, we'll find out who it is. It's the New Orleans Saints. Greg is 1-6. There was the Saints had a tough loss at home to the Buccaneers this past week, 24-22. They were in the game. I think the Buccaneers just had a big Tom Brady drive to put it away at the end, and dashed the Saints' hopes of a big division win. That keeps the Saints well down in the NFC South right now, and they're going to have to dig out of a hole starting this week at home against Atlanta. The Saints have lost 6 in a row, and I think all of these losses have not been the same. I think a lot of them have been very heartbreaking, and others not so much, where it's just been just completely outclassed. But I think New Orleans, uh, they they give a good effort, and their point output isn't indicative of their record at times, and some weeks they just struggle, and you really can't explain it. And they're hoping this week that they can find that home cooking at the Superdome, as it's a battle of two dome teams, the Falcons and the Saints, division rivals in the NFC South, that are going to clash here in week number 9. It's going to be interesting to see if Atlanta can pull that one out. They're right back in the thick of it in the NFC South, but the Saints are going to look to spoil that and try to make a run of their own. And the way Greg plays at times, I have a feeling he might have a couple tricks left up his sleeve in New Orleans, and I feel the Saints are due. They're very very due. I mean, they have the longest losing streak in the league right now at 6, and I think this week could be the week. But we'll see what happens now as we head to the number 30 spot in this week's power rankings. It's the Carolina Panthers of Josiah, who are 1-7. They move up one spot. New Orleans actually at number 31 moved down a spot. So Carolina moved up a spot to take the spot New Orleans just had, as Carolina lost at Atlanta 30-24 in overtime. That was a tough loss, and definitely Carolina is hurting after that one. That was a division game that they had it on the road, and that would have been a huge morale booster for the team if they were able to pull that one off on the road at Atlanta. But it just wasn't to be, as the Falcons had just enough to pull out the touchdown in overtime. So that's the fifth straight loss for the Panthers, and wow, that NFC South, it's very tough right now to see who's going to come out of there, but it's looking like the one team is rising above the rest right now, and it's not any of the ones I've mentioned really so far, in these rankings. But next, Carolina will play the Patriots at home, who are 6-2. That'll be interesting. Carolina just needs to play with nothing to lose. They're really at the point now where they're not really in the hunt for the playoffs. It's getting to the halfway point of the season right now, and had to take a quick mute there. Um, so we'll see if Carolina can just put together some drives at home against a really really good team and possibly pull out an upset. And we'll see if they can. And I think Josiah has one in him yet after a 5-game losing streak. Next, we go on to number 29, the New York Jets. David Dix's Jets are 2-5. They're down 7 spots this week. Lost to Cincinnati at home 28-24. Just kind of listless right now. They're not really showing a ton of effort in all phases of the game right now. They're just struggling. Cincinnati was a team that, coming in, they're averaging around 30 a game, so they were down a little bit this week, but the Jets were not able to take advantage of it at home, and they tumble down these rankings this week after two losses in a row now. And next they'll have to play at Indianapolis, the Jets. The Colts are 3-5. Jets are 2-5. This is a make or break really for the Jets, I believe. They're really losing ground in the AFC East by the week, and they're running out of time. Let's just face it. This team has been in the playoffs. They're a perennial playoff team in the NFL Stableford League, and it's not looking good for the Jets this year to make it. They're not even in the hunt right now. That's how tough the AFC is right now. It's just a battleground over there in that AFC, and it has to start this week for the Jets. If they're really if they're gonna make up the ground they need to make, otherwise they're gonna be grounded for the playoffs. And now we'll move on to number 28. It's the Seattle Seahawks of Chris Smith, who are 2-6. They're down one spot from last week after a heartbreaking loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, 31-28 in overtime. Yeah, second overtime game already mentioned. There's a lot of overtime in Week 8. It's that competitive right now in the league, and it's every week now. We're going to be seeing a lot of overtime. It seems because that's how much parity there is in the league right now. Uh, but the Seahawks will get a week now to think about it as they now go on their bye. I think it's a great time for them. Uh, might be a good time to maybe get some practices in, get back to basics a little bit with the master swing, and maybe just have some fun with it. Give the guys a week off to relax and rest, and hopefully come back focused back in week number 10 as we're you know definitely gonna need that. You're gonna need to have that focus the rest of the season. 8 games in, you got 9 left to play. You're 2-6, number 13 in the NFC right now. So it's gonna take a yeoman's effort to get back uh, in the race, at least for a playoff spot. The NFC West possibly is still up for grabs a little bit, but you got to get on a run. You can't afford to lose some of these really close games. But the Seahawks are giving the best effort they can, and they're just running into the better team at times, and it's got to be tough for the 12th man to take. But we'll see how they do after their bye this week, coming back. But now we head to number 27. It's the Tennessee Titans, Platypus Brigade, who are 2-6. Uh, they went up a spot, even though they lost at Indianapolis 30-29. That's tough to take when you lose 30-29. A team puts 30 on you. You think you got a good chance by scoring 29 points on the road, and you just get nipped, and that's tough, especially against a divisional opponent who you're in a battle with uh, going forward. But they can't really dwell on it too long. The Titans now have to go to the Rams in week number 9. The Rams are 5-3 right now, and they're pretty tough at home. And that stadium can be very tricky. And we'll see if the Titans can navigate their way through there, as it's very there's all kinds of stuff going on in that stadium. The Titans are on a 4-game losing streak, so now's the time really to start making a move, as they're really not even in the hunt right now for an AFC playoff spot, and the AFC South is starting to get a little bit out of their grasp. But if they can put a couple wins together, they could be right back into the mix. So we'll see what happens here coming up in week number 9 for the Tennessee Titans. We'll see if they can tighten up. As we now go to number 26, it's the Dallas Cowboys. Scott Pizer, 2-5, down 2 spots this week after losing a heartbreaker at Minnesota, 28-27. Gave a great effort on the road, just wasn't enough. Uh, an NFC opponent, and that would have been a key win right there, in my opinion, for the Cowboys going forward, to knock off a really good team in Minnesota, but they just weren't able to pull it out. So that's their third loss in a row now, and we're starting to see a trend here. Uh, they lose 2, win 2, now they're losing 3. So now they're gonna win 3, right? That's how it works in Dallas. Hopefully, and at least that's what the faithful down in Big D are hoping for. But it's gonna have to start at home against the Denver Broncos this week. As the 5-3 Broncos come into town, that's gonna be a tough matchup, and Dallas is really gonna have to bring it. The Broncos are not an easy team anytime you have to play them, as they're coming off a big win also last week in overtime, and they're in a battle as well in that AFC West. So we'll see if the Cowboys can get back to relevancy in the NFC East after week number 9 here, as right now they're 11th in the NFC standings and are going to need to make some moves if they're going to get into that top 7, at least as a wild card. As we now hit the top 25, and who will be number 25? The Dirty Birds of the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons are up 4 spots after beating Carolina at home in overtime, 30-24. That's a big jump for that close of a win, but there's been some volatility at the bottom and in the middle of the rankings right now, and the Falcons are the beneficiary of that, as they now will go to the Saints, their division rival, who are 1-6. It's a big NFC South matchup. If Atlanta can win that, they'll put themselves a game behind the division leading Buccaneers right now. As it stands, they're still a game and a half behind. They're 1 back in the loss column and 2 back in the win column of the Bucks. So still not out of reach yet for the Falcons. They're 12th in the NFC right now. So they're going to have to start soaring a little bit here in the middle to the latter part of the season if they're going to make a playoff push. So as we now head to number 24. It's the Las Vegas Raiders of Chinatown. They're 2-5, and they're up 2 spots this week after a bye week. So a nice relaxing stroll for them after some tough games now that have got them on a 2-game losing streak. We'll see if the Raiders are ready to go, as they'll now be at the New York Giants, who are 6-2. That's not going to be an easy one. You always have to pack a lunch when you're playing Big Blue. The G-Men are no easy feat to defeat, and the Raiders have pulled out some really clutch performances this year when least expected, and they could do it again this week. But we'll see what happens, as if they can get another 30-pointer or a really good performance on the road, that would really have the G-Men thinking twice. So, but right now, the Vegas is not. They're not even in the hunt right now for the playoffs in the AFC. That's how tough things are right now. But they're still in the conversation in the AFC West. They're going to have to get off this losing streak first and hope things start to turn around pretty darn quick. So, but that's the Raiders at 24, and now we'll head up to number 23. It's the Chicago Bears. The Bears check in at 3-5. They're down 2 spots. Uh, Riotous Sam is coming off a loss at home to the 49ers, 27-26. That's tough. The Bears are on a 3-game losing streak, and that's also tough. You don't want to be doing that. It's going to be difficult to turn things around if you just keep losing these tough home games, but the Bears are giving all they have. I mean, I know they're leaving a few points out on the points out there, but at the end of the day, the effort is there, and the other team is just taking it. I mean, the Bears are scoring a lot of points. It's just, I think that defense is just letting up at the worst possible time, and the other opponents are just taking advantage of some really good bounces, it seems like. But next, the Bears will have to go at Pittsburgh, who are 5-3. The Steel Curtain is no joke, folks. And the Bears, wow, it doesn't get any easier for them. And right now they're 9th in the NFC, which they're still in the fringe of the playoff push, or in the playoff picture. But if they can pull this one out at Pittsburgh, that would go a long way towards getting them right back into the hunt. And they're in the hunt right now, but they're just out on the outside looking in. So we'll see if the Bears can get back to prominence here in week number 9. As we now head to number 22, who do we have? It's the Houston Texans of the Taft Man, Paul, checking in at 3-5. The Texans are down 3 spots this week after losing a heartbreaker to the Rams at home, 29-26 in overtime. Another overtime game and another really difficult result for Paul, um, who gave it all he had really at home against a really good Rams team. Uh, but yeah, the Texans are 12th in the AFC right now, so they're technically alive. I mean, they're alive in the AFC South as well, as that division is still far from being decided, and there's been some shocking results in that division in the past few weeks, and Paul's been a part of that. So I hope to see that continue with him, and I hope that he can bounce back from this one. As next, it'll be a tough matchup at the Miami Dolphins, who are 7-1. Now that's a game you got to get up for, as the Dolphins are going to be there at the end. You gotta believe they're going to be contesting for a high seed in the playoffs, and you might end up running into these guys again down the road if you end up making the playoffs. So we'll see if Houston can put on a big effort this week at Miami. As we now head to number 21. It's the Indianapolis Colts, who check in at 3-5. It's B Mills, who's up 4 spots this week after a big win versus Tennessee, 30-29. That's a big 30 that you needed to have to beat a tough to beat a tough Titans team at home. The Titans gave them all they could handle, and the Colts were able to pull it out. That's their second win in a row, so things are trending up in Indy, and that's what you wanted. That's where you want to be, especially now that you have the Jets coming into town, who are struggling as well, and they're 2-5. So this could be a nice stretch here for the Colts to start moving their way up the standings in the AFC. As right now they're in the 13th spot, so they got some work to do yet. But we'll see. I think it can be done, and right now the horseshoe is looking pretty good and giving them some good luck. So we'll see if B Mills can keep the momentum going in week number 9. As we now head to the top 20, who will be number 20? It's the Detroit Lions, 3-5 of CF, who won against at home against Philadelphia by a big 29-22 margin. The Lions are up 3 spots this week. They next will have a bye, so probably not a good time for the bye because you're on a roll right now and you want to keep playing. But the Lions have won 2 in a row, so kudos to them for that. After being left for dead a few weeks back, they're in 10th now in the NFC playoff picture, so they're definitely not out of it, and there's still lots of games to play yet. So the Lions have really revved things up here to get back into the hunt, and now we'll enjoy that bye week and hopefully stay hot and not have a letdown. As right now you're playing top notch Stableford, and it's just now you got to keep that momentum going as you take a week off. So we'll see if Detroit can keep that going in week number 10 when they get back on the schedule. As we now head into the 19th spot, didn't have to go far. It's the Green Bay Packers, who are 4-4 right now and up 1 spot this week after defeating the Cardinals on the road 26-23. Big win for the Packers. They really needed it after a kind of a heart-wrenching loss the week before in overtime to the football team. But now they'll head to Kansas City, the Chiefs, who are also 4-4. So we're gonna have a lot of 4-4 here going on at Arrowhead. Two teams at 500, whose seasons probably lie in the balance. As Green Bay is number 8 in the NFC picture right now, right on the outside looking in, and could really use a win this week at a tough Arrowhead uh, stadium where the Chiefs always are tough to beat. And the Packers, word has it, Jordan Love will be the starter. So we'll check the Twitch stream for that, as you'll have to see Jordan Love get his first start ever in NFL Stableford. We'll see how that goes. As we now head to number 18. Taking the long way there. It's the Washington football team checking in at number 18 this week. They're 4-4. Zach is down 5 spots after a tough loss at Denver, 31-28 in overtime. Uh, just a difficult. Uh, After that, he's rethinking everything. Uh, the coaching staff, the players, everything. All of it. The facilities, you name it. Got to rethink everything. Got to start soul searching, as the football team was not expecting this to be this way. Going into their bye week, I'm sure they did not expect to be 4-4, but here we are. But there's the bright side of it all is they're still in the playoffs right now at the 7th seed in the NFC. That's how things have been in the NFC this year. It seems like it's just kind of been it's a big log jam in the middle right now, and the football team is a big part of that, as they're a couple games out in the NFC East, so you still can't even count them out there, as they've had a couple big wins already. They've beaten their rivals in that division. It seems like when they get out of the division, it's a little bit tougher sledding. So we'll see if the football team can regroup after their bye and come back strong in week number 10. As we now head to number 17. It's the Kansas City Chiefs of Kike, who are 4-4. They're down 5 spots this week after losing at home to the New York Giants, 28-25. There's no shame in losing to the G-men, but at home in an environment that you're used to, it was a winnable game there. I mean, 28 in this year's season is not an insurmountable score. I'm a little surprised that the Chiefs' vaunted offense wasn't able to overcome that, but at last they ended up dropping the game at home and now find themselves in a dogfight in that AFC West, and now are in 11th in the AFC. So they're on the outside looking in, and they're going to need some help, as they're now looking up at a lot of the playoff contenders right now. But they can turn things around starting this week in the State Farm Bowl against the Packers, who come in to Arrowhead at 4-4 and definitely down their main man, Mr. Rogers. So we'll see if Mr. Mahomes can pull this one out for the Chiefs, as we now head to number 16. It's the Los Angeles Rams of Kevin, who are 5-3. They're up 2 spots this week, the Rams, as they won at the Texans in overtime, 29-26, as mentioned earlier. And now we'll get to play the Tennessee Titans at home, who are 2-6. Can't look past the Titans. They're capable of putting on some big performances, and at times that LA weather can get a little tricky. So we'll see if Kevin's on form this week, and if the Rams can keep the momentum going from their big win in overtime on the road. As right now, they're right in the thick of the NFC West. They're a half game behind the 49ers, who are at 5-2. And it's going to be incumbent upon the Rams to keep the momentum going if they're going to improve on their number 6 standing in the NFC, as they are in there in the wild card, but there's teams that are wanting to get in pretty bad, and you don't want to drop a game at home to a team that's kind of struggling a little bit right now in Tennessee. So we'll see if the Rams can emerge this week with a W and improve upon their wild card position. As we now hit the top 15, who do we got? It's the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are 4-3. They're down 4 spots this week though after they lost at home to Miami 28-25 in overtime. Just a tough loss there. That was gut wrenching. Uh, Bills Mafia was pretty much inconsolable after that one. They're crying on the tables than more than breaking them this past week. But nevertheless, life goes on, and now the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the schedule, and the Bills will have to go and travel down south to a team with the same record. Who are the Jags? The Jags are 4-3 and leading that AFC South, and the Bills are going to have to bring it. The Mafia will travel. We know they will. They're everywhere. And we'll see if the Bills can improve upon their 10th spot in the AFC right now. They're in the hunt, but they're gonna need some more wins if they're gonna get into that top 7 right now, as they're a half game behind uh, the number 7 seed Denver Broncos. So we now move into the 14th spot. And it's the San Francisco 49ers of Jason Crushtastic, who are 5-2. The Niners are up 3 spots this week after beating the Bears in Chicago, which was a big win, 27-26. Next, they will be hosting the Cardinals who are at 2-6. So that's a division rival. Uh, right now, the Niners are in the 3rd spot in the NFC, being the leaders of the NFC West. So you want to stay where you're at if you're the 49ers. And with Art coming in and the Arizona Cardinals a little bit wounded right now, you don't want to give them any hope, and you don't really want to let up. So we'll see if the 49ers keep the pedal down in that NFC West and are able to make able to put some distance between themselves and their nearest competitors in that division. As right now, uh, the Niners, they're starting to prove people wrong now. Like I'm starting to believe a little bit more after some of these latest performances. I'm seeing them putting some more points on the board, and now I have no problem rating them this high going forward. They might actually be a little bit low, but the AFC is so tough this year that they're actually dominating a lot of these rankings right now. There's teams that are not even in the playoffs in the AFC right now that are ranked above the Niners, and I think that'll probably change in the weeks to come as we see a little bit more fluctuation going on with some of the results here. As we now move into lucky number 13, who will it be? Now, this team is actually a little bit below the 49ers in the playoffs in the NFC, but they are the 4th seed as they are the leaders in the NFC South. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brandon Carroll's got them going pretty good right now after beating the Saints in the Superdome 24-22. As I said, the Buccaneers are 4-4. Actually, I didn't just say that, but they are, and they're up 2 spots. So they keep going in the right direction. They're on a 3-game winning streak right now as well. So that's huge, as the Bucks are 4th in the NFC, as mentioned, and now we'll go on a bye. So this is not probably maybe not the best time for a bye, but you have a good winning streak going. You just keep the momentum going. Take the week off, get some of your injuries healed up, and get back at it in week number 10, knowing that you're probably going to be leading the NFC South. Actually, you will be, because there's nobody within a game of you right now. You're actually 2 games up on everybody. So kudos to the Buccaneers. What a huge turnaround from earlier in the season when they were down in the basement. As we now head to number 12, a team that's hitting some hard times here lately. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. Uh, they dropped 5 spots this week. They're 5-3 right now, and they had a big loss at home, or actually at Detroit, not at home. 29-22. I mean, they got they got it pretty bad there. I mean, that was a good old fashioned whooping that the Lions put on them, and now the Eagles find themselves. Uh, they are locked. Actually, they're in the 5th spot right now, so they're a wild card team in the NFC as they now trail the Giants in the NFC East by 1 game, and they'll next be playing the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 6-1 right now. So that's going to be a tough game, as the Eagles are going to have to host a team that's pretty darn good, and they're going to have to be on their A game this week. And I could see them dropping another one if they're not careful. So in the NFC right now, there's a lot of teams in the middle that are really trying to get their way into that wild card. And right now the Eagles are in it, but wow, if they don't get back to where they were, it's going to be a struggle going forward here if they don't start getting back to where they were earlier in the season. So, but that's the Philadelphia Eagles at number 12, and now we'll head across the state and we'll see who's number 11. It's the steel curtain of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're number 11 right now in these rankings, but they're number 9 in the AFC and in the hunt. So that's an anomaly there. They're 4-3. They're down 3 spots after losing at Cleveland 26-25. That's how much I think of the Steelers. I think they're a solid team, but they're not getting the results right now. And next they have to play Chicago, who is 3-5 at home. So this could be a quick bounce back week, as the Steelers they've been very up and down this year, not gonna lie, and they're outside the top 10 for that reason. But we'll see if the Steelers can get their form back going forward here as we now head to the top 10.